Introducing our new Hateful Conduct and Harassment policy. This is the new Twitch post. Every day, millions of people come together on Twitch to share their passion and skill, support their favorite streamers, and connect with friends. Communities on Twitch are diverse and are growing rapidly, representing nearly every interest, background, and language around the globe. As we evolve, it's necessary to revisit and update policies to make sure that all streamers and communities can create together safely on Twitch. Today, we're introducing a new updated Hateful Conduct and Harassment policy. This policy will now take effect on January 2021. Content created on or after January 2022 will be evaluated under the new guidelines. Okay. Okay. I think it's weird that it would take that long. Like, why wouldn't you just do it now? But whatever. The changes are intended to be better protect the community, not be punitive, so we are sharing them before the updated policy goes into effect to ensure that you have adequate time to understand what is changing. During this education period, our safety team will continue to moderate content using the existing guidelines. I'm just going to scroll down. Why now? We know that many people on Twitch, particularly women, members of the LGBTQIA+ community, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, unfortunately continue to experience a disproportionate amount of hate and online abuse, including on our service. Not only is this blatantly unacceptable, but it also undermines the community that we're building on Twitch and threatens the long-term viability of streaming as a career for everyone who wants to pursue it. Let's see here. I'm just going to go ahead and this is people doing this here. We developed a new policy to take a clearer and more consistent stance against hate and harassment to give you greater insight on what is and isn't acceptable on Twitch. Hateful conduct and harassment have always been prohibited, but we've added more detail explaining the behaviors that fall into these categories. We've also added specific examples to help you understand how the policy is applied in practice. This policy is a culmination of months-long process incorporating extensive research within our community and consultation with industry experts across the field, as well as our Safety Advisory Council. We also drew heavily on a review of past cases to identify edge cases and opportunities for clarification. Words and actions have meaning and impact, even if your intent is not to be hurtful, or cause harm. Under a new policy, our safety team will look at the content of statements or actions in order to determine whether a behavior is abusive and violates our guideline, rather than relying solely on perceived intent. Why would they not rely on the intent that somebody has for making the content? I don't really understand why that why would you do that? Rely solely on intent? Well, of course, like, they never did, though. Like, they never relied solely on intent. Like, if you said the N-word and you weren't intending to be racist, you would still get banned for it. So this is not even a change. This is already what they did. Yeah, this has already been a yeah, this was never a factor to begin with. But this is definitely not something that I would like to read. As a consequence of this, our assessment of some areas, including some types of harassment, may rely on indications that behavior is unwanted, including channel timeouts, bans, or reports from the targeted user or a mod team. This will provide us with necessary context to ensure that we aren't punishing people for good-natured or competitive banter that is accepted within some communities. Okay, that's good. That being said, we'll continue to weigh both perspective and of the reporter and the content under each review and determination. Let's go ahead and just actually look at what they're actually changing, because this is a lot of shit for me to go through. People experience harassment in many ways, including personal attacks, promotion of physical harm, and malicious brigading. We do not allow harassment on Twitch and will take action to remove it from our service. We do not want to enable users to express themselves naturally. We want to enable users to express themselves naturally with their friends and communities without fear that these interactions could be misidentified as harassment. Then why is Barry banned? If you feel that the behavior crosses the line of abuse, we encourage you to use our report feature. Beyond that, several of the changes in this policy make certain aspects of our long-standing policy clearer and more explicit. For example, the following behaviors are expressly prohibited. Claiming that the victim of a well-documented tragedy is a crisis actor or is lying. What? So if somebody says they're like, from 9/11, if you say they're lying, or like what does this mean? Yeah, this is the Alex Jones clause. I mean, that's got to be what it is. It's just so weird for me to read this. Well-documented violent tragedy is a crisis actor. Like, yeah, this is like, what is this? Is this like if is this so they can fucking ban Alex Jones even though he doesn't stream? Like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't think this is a bad, it's such a weird thing to make a post about. Like, I don't understand it at all. It's because they can get sued? Holocaust denial? Like, who denies the Holocaust on Twitch? Like, 5, like, viewers? Like, what? Who is doing that? Like, I don't understand. Encouraging others to DDoS, hack, SWAT, or SWAT another person. Yeah, okay, this is 100%. Everybody's behind this, pretty much. I agree with this 100%. Inciting malicious raids of another person's social media profiles off Twitch. This is pretty... Okay, so, like, let me give you an example. Whenever I talked about the blind playthrough thing, and somebody makes a public statement about it, and I'm reading their statement on Twitter... like, is that inciting a malicious raid against them? So I can't criticize what somebody's saying publicly? Like, I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. But like the average stuff that like you would think of whenever you think of inciting a malicious raid, yeah, of course, nobody wants that. Sure. The following changes should also be noted. Harassment becomes hateful conduct when the attack is based on identity characteristics. We consider the following identity-based attributes to be protected characteristics. That's just all the usual fucking stuff. Let's see here. That's fine. We've added caste, color, and immigration status to assure that we're involving with our global community in protection of underrepresented groups. First point seems broad. Yeah. So... national immigration status, like why would you include immigration status? Like it's hard for me to think about like when this would even be relevant. Refugees, I mean, they're not really immigrants, period, but I don't know. It's for people who call Mexicans something messed up I don't want to say on stream because I'll get banned. So you think it's for people that like say racist stuff against Mexicans? Maybe. I don't know. Let's go back to the rest of these. We've included more details so you can better understand. Learn more on our article about hateful conduct. We've included more details so you can better understand which behaviors would cross the line. For example, hate speech and symbols have always been prohibited, and we've added explicit language banning hate groups, membership in hate groups, and sharing of hate group propaganda. We've also specifically prohibited black, brown, yellow, and red face. Wait, is Asmongold getting banned? What is red face? I don't even know. What is red face? It's like I'm learning more about racism by them telling me not to do it. I didn't even know this was a thing. American Indian. Oh, okay. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Okay. Unless they are being used in explicitly educational context. Again, this is not new, but the new guidelines will make clearer for everyone. More examples of hateful prohibited behaviors, read more here. Following changes should also be noted. Emotes are an important part of how we communicate with one another on Twitch, but they can be used maliciously. So emote combinations, even without additional text used in chat, will be held to this policy. Yeah, obviously, that's good. I completely agree with this. Whenever I say monkey and somebody puts try hard, yeah, they should get banned. 100%. Like, everybody knows what you're doing. Everybody knows what you're saying. It's intellectually dishonest to say that that's not the case. Yeah, like, 100%. Yeah, the ooga booga, like, any of that shit. Like, everybody knows what's going on. Given its historic and symbolic association with slavery and white supremacist groups in the U.S., displaying the Confederate flag is prohibited. Again, I don't really... The Confederate flag is like a weird issue because like there's a lot of people that just use the Confederate flag as saying I'm from the South, and there's a lot of people that use the Confederate flag saying that I'm better than people that aren't white, you know? And so it's kind of hard to talk about that and have a really honest conversation about it because you have some people that are, you know, they just do it because that's what they do, and there's other people that do it because they're assholes. It all depends on what it is. I'm very surprised and also kind of disappointed I'm getting so much pushback on this. Listen to what I'm saying. So this is a symbol that's been around for hundreds of years. People don't use, probably 150 years. Not every single person that uses the Confederate flag is necessarily a white supremacist or a racist. There are plenty of people who use it as a separate symbol just for people that are proud of being from the South. Now, whether they're wrong for that or not is different. But to tell them that their own intent is not what they say it is, and then to say, no, you don't mean to do this, you mean to do something else, and I know what you mean to do better than you do, even though there's no real correlating evidence that there's a connection between the two things, is completely unfair. And I'm not even saying that they shouldn't do this. They lost the war. Well, why do people just laugh it off? What's this here? People are so fucking ignorant, you can't tell them from the bubbles. Yeah, like, there's a connection. Of course there's a connection. Same with the swastika. There's a difference between the swastika and there's a difference between the Confederate flag. Here's the difference, is that there's not a culture of people that are using the swastika and they just have it on a t-shirt and they walk around and they don't necessarily hold the ideals of the Nazi party. Like, there's plenty of people that wear a Confederate flag on their t-shirt and they're not necessarily wanting to bring back slavery. Like, this is, you guys are being completely unreasonable. The flag still represents something terrible, and parading it, even without intent, is deeply offensive to a lot of people. Well, it can be there's a lot of things that are offensive to a lot of people, right? I'm not saying that that's not the case. What I am saying is that if they're going to ban the flag, that's fine, right? And I think that makes sense, and a lot of places have also banned the flag. But I also think that it's intellectually dishonest to tell people that the symbol that they've used forever, right? I mean, like, as I said, I've grown up in Texas. There's tons of people that just wear the flag on like a t-shirt or something like that. These are not necessarily racist people. There's a culture that's been built around, you know, wearing shirts and shit with the Confederate flag that's separate from being supportive of slavery or the Confederacy. Like, and if you don't live in the South, if you don't live in the U.S., you might not understand that. But here in the U.S., people wear the flag on their shirt, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they support the Confederacy. Being offensive doesn't have to have intent. I think that to some degree it does, and some degree it doesn't. For example, if you have no intent with if you're being offensive, and for example, there are a lot of things that are offensive to people. And there has to be a line that you draw where you say, just because you're offended by this doesn't necessarily mean that you have the right to remove it. Now, where is the line for that? I think the Confederate flag is pretty reasonable. Okay, fine. But there's a certain line for that, and where is that line? Anyway, let's see here. Let's go back and we'll read the rest of this. Sexual harassment. This is the other thing here. While sexual harassment has always been prohibited on Twitch, we've heard from our community that our guidelines don't adequately account for harassing behaviors that are sexual in nature. With this update, we've separated sexual harassment into its own category and adopted a much lower tolerance for objectifying and harassing behavior. Okay. Repeatedly commenting on someone's perceived attractiveness, even whenever you believe this to be in a positive or complimentary manner. It is prohibited if there is some indication that it's unwelcome. So this is mostly just for like girl streamers, because I don't feel like this is for like a streamer. Like, there's not really any streamers that go around and they do this. Making lewd or explicit comments about anyone's sexuality or physical appearance is prohibited. Note that we do not make exception for public figures. Lewd or explicit comments about anyone's sexuality or physical appearance. We know entirely what that means, but okay. This is another stop. Sending unwanted and unsolicited links to nude images or videos is prohibited. That wasn't the case already? I kind of already assumed that was the case. Yeah, I thought that was already the case. Let's see. This is another step towards recognizing our safety visions for Twitch. We do recognize we have a lot of work to do. I mean, like, if you send a naked picture to somebody before, I'm sure Twitch would have banned you then too. I'm not really sure what the difference is here or how this is any different than what we had before. But regardless, you know, they're going to do this and we'll see what happens. Our people certainly care so much about flag. I don't want to talk about the Confederate flag. I feel like people are not really they're not talking about it fairly. And so it's not really a good conversation to have, because I just feel like it's not going to be productive or fun to have. I don't want to have people that are going to fucking act like I'm saying something that I'm not, because I'm not just completely wholesale agreeing with their fucking point of view and the things that they've read online. Yeah, like, if somebody wants to come in there and fucking try to shame me for having an opinion, and not even listen to what I'm saying, then yeah, fuck them.